Good evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome, Whovians, to our weekly discussion, reaction, review, wild speculation of Doctor Who. This is episode called Rogue.
I think it's 7.
I think it's seven. Some people are counting the Christmas special, and some people aren't in this season. I'm just.
I think it said 7 on Disney Plus, so
Okay.
I'm going by Disney Plus, which
yeah.
they do include the Christmas, the
Church on Ruby Road. Yeah. A couple of things. One, technology can suck a big giant one. And two, this episode was the one that they have been promoting probably the most since they announced this season.
Yes. Russell T. Davies had Jonathan Groff on his Instagram page multiple times this week. Hey, by the way, Jonathan Groff.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way.
They kind of hinted, okay, A, spoilers, B, we are allies around here, so if you don't want to be around for the conversation we're about to have about the gayness of this episode, then... They kind of hinted that the Doctor... They've talked about the Doctor before the season started having some open feelings about about different people.
Right.
And then Ncuti in Sex Education plays a gay character.
Right.
They themselves, I'm going to say they, I don't know how they identify themselves, has been like, it's none of your business who I am in real life.
Right.
And so, and he's, dresses well and he's fabulous. I think we all know. But having Jonathan Groff there kind of lended into this idea that we were kind of maybe going to go down this romantic direction.
Potentially, because, just because Jonathan Groff is an openly gay man doesn't mean that his, him being on the screen means we're going to have a gay scene. But, the Bridgerton of it all.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say, too.
Yeah, it was... He was definitely going to be a rogue.
A rogue.
Pun intended, a foppish character. So...
Yeah, yes. When they announced this and they started showing photos, I was like, yeah, he's going to be the kind of foppish... And he's actually the brooding rogue. He's kind of the brooding butch guy because he's a bounty hunter.
Yeah. He's probably out of the two of them, he is definitely the more butch of the of the two. But still, the clothing of the era is very frilly and and he's like his ship was a mess and the TARDIS is sparkling clean and it's called a surface.
Right.
So, that kind of, stereotypically guys are messy and girls are clean. That's completely not true, but stereotypically it is.
I love my daughter very much. She is a messy person.
Right.
It's organized mess, but it's a mess. I really like that they have not shied away from... specifically this Doctor having romantic feelings or sexual feelings is a much better way of putting it towards all kinds of different people. Ncuti's playing the Doctor kind of like Jack. We'll get into the whole Jack of the conversation in a minute, but he's kind of playing him like Jack. I'm open to experiencing affection, love, people, whoever they present themselves.
Right, and I think I talked about this in the last one that we did. With the split, David Tennant's Doctor kind of took all that anger and anger.
Yeah.
I mean, with him. right? Because that's David Tennant was an angry doctor. Matt Smith was I don't want to talk about it, doctor. Capaldi was, angry eyebrows, attack eyebrows. And Jodie's was just kind of almost like a hot mess, but she was also very like kind of standoffish
when it came
to the companions or other people, like just I can't let you in. And so the split, like I feel like David Tennant's doctor kind of took all that with him, and he's over here healing with an actual family and getting the the therapy, so to speak. And so Nchuti's character is allowed to, like, I think he's cried in every single episode. And allowed to have all the emotions that the previous iterations kind of have not been
I don't think Jodie ever really cried. And Capaldi definitely didn't cry.
No.
Matt Smith did. He cried a single tear a couple of times, especially when Amy and Rory were taken from him. And he was always very emotional with River, both in a playful way, but also.
But mostly it was anger. Like there wasn't crying over being sad in those sadder situations. It was anger at the universe or what the circumstances or whatever that had done this to him instead of.
Well, and he did it to himself, and
right.
It's one of those interesting. This is one of those kind of the fun conversations that the longer we go with each iteration of the Doctor, the more we kind of learn about the other iterations of the Doctor.
Yeah.
We don't understand why Eccleston and Tennant and Smith are all the way they are until we get to the War Doctor, and we realize why.
Right.
This is the Doctor we don't talk about. He killed everyone on his planet and all the Daleks.
Right.
And he's been carrying that for many centuries. And then he kind of they have a reference stretch.
Nailed it.
They figured it out. But then Capaldi was just. They saved Gallifrey. They saved Gallifrey in a parallel universe, or in a frozen in time. But Capaldi still hadn't allowed himself to come to that kind of like, I need to deal with this stuff.
Right. He hadn't healed himself. The thing that made him the way he was had been fixed.
Yeah.
But
reference stance? Nope, still not. Oh shit, I got that one.
Finally. But yeah, it's kind of an allegory for, people, trauma, whatever. You can fix the thing. Just off the top of my head, like an abusive, home situation, and the spouse who is being abused leaves the spouse who is the abuser, and now they've removed themselves from the situation, but that doesn't make it all better.
It doesn't solve everything.
They still need to, work on themselves, go to therapy or whatever it is that they need to do to work on themselves. So it's kind of like that.
And a little bit of the reason why I want to talk about this is because the Doctor allowed himself for a moment to have this idea of having an actual romantic partner with Rogue. He found him attractive. They had much the same vibe. They bickered very well. The banter back and forth between the two of them. They're kind of opposites attract a little bit, like we were talking about with the messy TARDIS, the clean TARDIS and the messy ship, and that kind of back and forth stuff. But also, Rogue sacrifices himself to save Ruby, and Ruby asks the Doctor, "Are you okay?" And he kind of waves it off. He's like, "La da da da," la da da, and he was overly upset that Ruby was gone, without he just assumed. We were talking about a lot about this with the Acolyte. He just assumed. He didn't go find a body. He didn't go see anything. He just assumed that Ruby was gone, and then he brushed it off, and he got really angry. He's like, "How long to the Shaldarn?"
Shaldurn.
Stern.
We had it pulled up.
We had it pulled up. Technology kicked my ass tonight.
Shaldur.
But he had a moment of, I want to seek revenge on them, kind of whatever. But then when everything kind of gets resolved at the end of the episode, Ruby's, kind of bugging him. Are you okay? You okay? And he just kind of waved it off like, yep, I'm getting ready. He pops right back up, I'm ready to go. And
I think that kind of shows a little bit too that he has spent considerably more time with Ruby than
what we've seen
with Rogue.
With
the Rogue, whatever. Don't think we ever got a name, right?
No,
he was
they made
a Rogue.
He actually says that. I didn't even get his real name.
Get his name, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little easier to not be as upset when he sacrifices himself versus when he thought that.
Yeah,
and he also made the promise. Like, they keep going back to that. Every time Ruby gets in just a little bit of, a sticky situation, they go back to him having the conversation with her mom.
Yeah.
So that means something. Because, Jackie was just a pain in all the doctors' butts. I mean, they liked her,
right?
In that kind of brotherly, sisterly, kind of way. But she was just kind of always a pain in everybody's butt, and I can't think of her name. Wilfred's daughter.
Donna.
No, Wilfred's daughter.
Oh, yeah. Donna's mom.
Donna's mom.
Yeah.
She just, she liked him. She liked the doctor, but she didn't trust him all the time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right?
He had to build up that trust and stuff.
Yeah, at the beginning, she didn't like him at all. So it's, it's almost like there's a warmer regard for Ruby's mom than he's had with any other.
Yeah, I think he also maybe it's not necessarily carrying the guilt of losing essentially all of his companions. I think it's more of I know where I've messed up in the past. I might be projecting here a little bit too, because I really like this iteration of this doctor and this companion.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's learned from his past with, again, like we talked about with the split, and having the opportunity to go back and save Tennant, being able to go back and save Donna and Rose and and Wilfred and all of them, like that whole thing, having that opportunity. This iteration of the Dr. 15 and Ncuti, I've learned from my mistakes. I'm going to go above and beyond to keep them safe.
Yeah.
They have been in dangerous situations, but we didn't kill Bill. Like, they killed Bill in 5 episodes in that season with Bill Potts.
Yeah.
Like, multiple times they killed Bill.
But if you think about it, they
killed Rory every episode.
Every episode, Rory was constantly dying. Amelia's, the only time we ever saw a family for Amelia was the one episode where she wakes up and the doctor's essentially never happened.
Right,
but
it's the wedding.
It's
the wedding, yeah.
And we don't ever know whether that's actually her parents, because she says she's lived with her aunt or whatever. So we never really got parents for Amelia, and we never got parents for Rory. We never got parents for Clara. We never got parents for Bill. We got
Bill's mom was in that the aliens come down and they convince everybody that they're the saviors, and Bill's mom is her memories of her mom are the catalyst to save her.
Right, but her mom was dead.
Right.
So
right.
we never
had that interaction.
The doctor and her never had a.
Yeah.
The other girl in between Donna.
Freema. We met her parents. Multiple times because her mom was always smacking her the doctor in the face for putting her in danger. So yeah, it has not been a consistent kind of storytelling point of having the doctor's an iteration of the doctor dealing with the parents of the companion.
Yeah.
In modern Who, now in classic Who, we're not as super versed in classic Who as we are as
we jump in and out of those episodes.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's interesting that like the ones with parents have survived. The ones with parents that the doctor has a relationship, good, bad, or weird, have survived. And the ones without parents, except for Jodie's fam, and there was like grandpa, so they kind of, I mean, he wasn't his real grandpa, but
Yaz's parents were in and out.
And Yaz's parents were in and out, but none of them died.
Nope.
They just left.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting.
Yeah.
But Ruby doesn't. I mean, Ruby's mom isn't her mom.
Isn't her mom? Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, she's
maybe Ruby is a little more in danger than
we think. Right. She's the slime version of the baby that Amy and Rory have that ends up being River, the one that they kind of do the fake.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they call them.
She's kind of on the like she's almost like the souffle girl, right? It's like, does she have a real mom? And I mean, she does. Obviously, she wasn't hatched from an egg, but is her real?
I mean, there was birds in this episode, so
maybe, yeah. But who's her real mom? And so it's almost like she could go either way.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's just not human at all. Because we don't know. And that's a big ongoing question.
That's my current theory is she is not human. She's somewhat Time Lord is where I keep going.
All right.
Because we did not get snow in this episode, by the way. No snow.
We did not. We just got a lot of Bridgerton.
So let's talk about the actual episode. We're talking about the philosophy of what's going on in the show overall. But this episode, Davies said that Kate Herron and Brony Redman came to him to write this episode, and they wanted to do a party episode.
Okay.
And they so they started workshopping it, whatever. And they said, what time period do we actually do? We do the 60s? Do we do the 20s? Do we do whatever? And somebody says, kind of jokingly, what about Bridgerton? And they decided to kind of run with that joke.
Yeah.
Of you got the bird people. Shalondon, whatever, who are shapeshifters, that come to the time period of Bridgerton to cosplay. They want to play their They want to play the characters in the drama that is this time period in history.
Right.
And they want to feed off of the chaos, the drama that is the Bridgerton time period.
Right. But they want to be important people.
Right.
Not just because one of them is a housekeeper, and they're like, this is work. And these people don't have the glamorous life. They're busy in the kitchens and all that. So they keep social ladder climbing and keep getting, what they think is the most interesting and popular or high status person that they can, because they even say she's not a duchess or something, or she's not a princess or something like that.
Yeah.
So
we got Jonathan Groff. They pushed Jonathan Groff through the entire time, but we also got Indira Varma. Indarna Varma.
Indira
Varma. There's no F. Who we know from Kenobi and Game of Thrones, but I'm sure she's been in a ton of other things. But I love her as an actress.
Yeah.
And she popped up on the screen as this kind of over-the-top Duchess, how dare you talk to me as the housekeeper, kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of the party organizer kind of thing
too. The lady of the house.
Yeah, yeah. And it was a nice extra, extra casting that I didn't know about. But the idea that they talked about cosplay in this episode, and I love that Rogue asked the Doctor, "Tell me about this ancient tradition of cosplay."
Yeah,
and the Doctor's like, they dress up as the characters that they see that they want to be.
I think he said we. I think he said.
Did he say we?
I think he said we.
I held my tongue there for a minute because I didn't want to say it like that, but I think you're right.
I think he said we.
And I love that they, us as people who love fandom, love your fandom, # love your fandom. We need to get shirts made. Love dressing up as characters that we see on the screen.
Right.
We both do Doctor Who cosplays.
Yep.
We've cosplayed as people from Harry Potter and Scott Pilgrim and Star Wars and like all these different things because it's our way of expressing our love for those characters, those universes and stuff like that. So for them within the universe to talk about people actually dressing up in people of the universe, it was just like,
yeah,
Malkovich.
And now I need to see people cosplay as the bird people. Because then you'll be cosplaying as a cosplayer.
So, right. Gallifrey 1 is in end of January, 1st of February. That's plenty of time.
Yep, you got like 5 months, 6 months.
To add on to your Bridgerton outfit. I know you already have.
Yep, wear the Bridgerton dress and the bird head.
Chicago TARDIS is in August? September? Which is the other big Doctor Who convention here in the States. And so I don't know if there's enough time to get it all done.
Yeah.
There's cosplayers they're great at that stuff and they can get it figured out. But I just love that concept of talking about the cosplay of it all. Millie Gibson has proven that she's got it. She was great in this episode.
Yeah.
With all of the long holding up her hand hi, when the book fell on her and stuff when she was peering in on them and
then the guy being all kind of coming on to her or whatever, right. And she was like, oh yeah, that wasn't her, that was the other girl that ended up being the Childern that said, no, maybe it was her.
It was her.
That
was kind of telling her because he was picking up on her with her grace for a minute.
Yeah,
and she kind of told him off. She was
like, yeah, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like no.
Yeah. But I really have been appreciating how good she's been in this series because Ncuti has been killing it, and they're just playing off of each other. They're great chemistry. They've both been great as actors.
Yeah, it would be easy to get lost in him.
Very easy. Yes. Yes.
Presence.
Let's talk about it. The elephant in the room for us. I'm going to try to clip this out for TikTok and just I'm going to go on a campaign. BBC needs to suck it up and bring John Boorman back.
Yeah. Everybody, this was the episode. And the internet was abuzz.
Yeah.
That this was the episode John was coming back in.
Yeah.
And there was no John.
There was hints of a conversation between Rogue and the Doctor. That Rogue was traveling with somebody. And they left.
Yeah.
That is, until I am told differently, that is, Davies had a plan to bring John back because Davies was the one that brought John in the first place. This was the point that they were going to bring John back and have him be the guest star, or have him be the one who saves Rogue at the end, or whatever, however it was going to be. But the BBC said no. So,
And we don't know that for a fact.
We don't know that for a fact, but until I'm told differently, Capaldi was fired.
Well, yeah. I mean, Capaldi has... I don't know.
All but said it.
I don't know that he was fired. I think it was hey.
He's done everything but say it.
He wasn't. Yeah, it was a hey.
Anyways,
you're done, right?
Yeah.
So what they could do, because the last thing the Rogue says when he goes down into the triangle that sends you wherever it sends you, was look for me, come for me, something. Look for me, find me, something like that. So, what could happen? And I don't think it's going to happen this season because we've only got 2 more episodes. But next season, the Doctor could run into Jack because Jack was in Jodie's.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was there, but he could run into him because they have split up. That's what he said. So to have him in this episode would have actually been once Jonathan said that we had split up. It didn't make sense for him, unless he's gonna like bust in and go, "Honey, I'm home." So if the Doctor then runs into Jack, maybe there's an issue or whatever. Jack comes in to warn him and starts to talk about how he was with this other bounty hunter, and and then
Jack was part of the time agency,
right? So and they had a stupid argument, and I got on my ship and left, and I never should have done that. And we know that the Doctor is not above threesomes because that was going on with Jack and Rose and Christopher Eccleston's Doctor. I mean, we don't know,
we don't know, come on, the 3 of them were on the ship
together for a while. So
I'm taking some real world stuff that happened when they announced the series, and there was discussions of bringing back Torchwood. Davies wants to do a couple of spinoffs, and there was a time when John posted some things that, if you read between the lines, there was a conversation that possibly John would come back to the Doctor Who universe, and that he was very upset that he wasn't going to be able to do it because somebody above Davies said no. Is how it came across to me, and that Eve Miles was going to be the kind of the face of the Torchwood project if that's where they ended up going. Now I think that whole plan has been scrapped, so I'm totally okay with that. But John didn't post for a very long time, and he's very social media savvy. He's all over stuff, and he's very much a fan. And he finally did come out and say, "I love my Doctor Who family. I will always be a Doctor Who fan, and the family that is my fans is a big deal to me, and so I will never not show up if they call. I'm on a plane to Cardiff right now, or Wales, or wherever they're filming now." So this felt like the opportunity to even just say his name. To have that conversation that they run into Jack next season or in season 3 or whatever.
Well, I mean, they didn't say his name, but I think it works out well if that's who it was.
Yeah. It's laid out very well for future storytelling. This is one of the things I love about Star Wars that a lot of people don't like about Star Wars, is they will hint at something. Obi-Wan Kenobi in the first 10 minutes of A New Hope, actually it was Star Wars, says, "I fought in the Clone Wars with your father." And Luke says, "The Clone Wars? You fought in the Clone Wars?" And 25, 30 years later, we get back around to telling that story of the Clone Wars. And so you have the face of Bo of it all. Now, they've told the face of Bo story, and they've told Jack's in and out story with the Doctor, but there's a ton of storytelling in there that you can still do with Jack and the face of Bo.
Right, because obviously Jack is around for quite some time.
Well, he is immortal, so...
Well, until he's not.
Until he
is the face of Bo.
Until he is the face of Bo, and then even then, I think the face of Bo like changes into something else. So, like I would be.
Well, don't we all?
Yeah, that's true. For next week, we get the mystery possibly solved of the Susan Twist of it all. She was the portrait in this episode, so she showed up again in this episode, not just in live action. She's actually even credited on IMDb as the portrait. They are going to address it in the trailer for next week. The little 15-second clip they gave us at the end, they point out she keeps popping up no matter where we're at.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get that, and I think I wonder if it's up here. Everybody talks amongst yourselves for a second. I
wonder if they make the last two like a two-parter big.
So the next week is The Legend of Ruby Sunday, and then the one after that is The Death of Ruby Sunday. The Death of Ruby. Everybody talk amongst yourselves. Empire of Death is the final episode. So we're getting Unit next week. We're getting this. We're figuring out what's going on with
Susan Twist.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Donna because she's working for Unit,
right?
And that kind of stuff. But the Susan Twist story of it all, I've been like just keeping that in the back of my head about who it is. Is she the one who is the one who waits? Who is the one who's been
the one that the toy maker and
Maestro
all keep calling kind of the
they've kind of haven't been like they mentioned that all stuff like the first 3 episodes and the last 4 episodes they've kind of been like getting away from like the adventure of the week whatever kind of
and
thing.
Whoever took the toy maker toy masters was it his ring, his tooth, the tooth that has the master in it, whoever took that off of the ship or whatever that was from Unit, obviously it was a woman. There were painted, long paint. Well, not obviously, but it appeared to be a woman's hand with long painted nails. So, we'll see who that is.
Yeah, see who that is. So, very interested what's going to happen the next couple of weeks. For those of you who are on the YouTube feed, thank you for coming around here and sticking around for us talking for 30 minutes about 20 minutes of everything else that's going on in the series in this episode. But it's all tied into each other. But we have the next 2 episodes. We've started The Acolyte, that's week to week, and The House of the Dragon starts in a week and a half. So if you're on the YouTube channel, thank you for being here and follow us for all the trailer reactions and movies and stuff like that. If you're on the podcast side and you're just coming across us, please follow us and subscribe and do all that stuff because we'll be hitting all that kind of stuff as it come up.
Yep, we did a Bad Boys movie review.
Yep, and 6 people watched it, so...
And you 6 know who you are.
We've been doing this for 7 years. I get 6 views on a video for a movie that's freaking awesome. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe, hit like, comment on this video about what you thought of about this episode that we have talked about, and follow us on all the social media stuff: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links in the description down below. Till next time, cult members. Hopefully our technology is much better. Good afternoon, good evening, and cocktails! Beer assistant!